This is the 2016 higher level break-even chart question. We were given the name of the company, forecasted output, selling price per unit, fixed costs, and also variable cost per unit. So there are 5 formulas that you will have to know in order for you to draw your break-even chart. The first one being contribution per unit, then it's break-even point units, revenue from break-even point units, revenue at forecasted output, and the last one being margin of safety. I also have a reminder of what your answer should be in, whether it be euro or units. So we will start doing our calculations for the 2016 break-even chart. Our first calculation we have to do is contribution per unit, and that is selling price minus variable costs. So the selling price in the question was 30 euro, and our variable costs at 20, given to us in the question. So we take our 20 euro away from 30 and we're left with 10 euro. Our next calculation is the break-even point units. Formula is fixed costs divided by contribution per unit. So the fixed cost in this question was 40,000 units, given to us in the question, divided by the contribution per unit, being 10 euro. So we just calculated that above in our first calculation, 10 euro. So we divide our 400,000 euro divided by 10 euro gives us 40,000 units. And it's very important that you label that correctly, 40,000 units. Our third calculation is revenue from break-even point units. The formula is break-even point units by the selling price. So we've just calculated the break-even point units above, so 40,000 euro. And our selling price being 30 euro, given to us in the question. So we multiply those two together and it gives us 1,200,000 euro. For calculation is revenue at forecasted output, the formula being forecasted output multiplied by the selling price. So the forecasted output is 60,000 units. And the selling price, once again, 30 euro. Multiply the two figures together, 1,800,000 euro. And our final calculation is margin safety, forecasted output minus break-even point units. So the forecasted output is 60,000 units minus the break-even units, which is 40,000 units. So we calculated above in our second calculation is 40,000 units. So 60,000 minus 40,000 units gives us 20,000 units. So that's all our calculations done. So now we can start working on our break-even chart. So first of all, it's very important that you label your break-even chart. In this case, it's break-even chart for Medron PLC. You label both axes. So the horizontal axis is always units, and it's always in thousands. And the vertical axis, revenue and costs, in euro, again in thousands. So if we just go back to the calculations that we've done a second ago, just readjust the screen so you can see it a little better. Okay, so you can see here the revenue from break-even units was 1,200,000 euro, and the revenue at forecasted output was 1,800,000 euro. So we know that our vertical axis has to go up to at least 1,800,000 euro. So that's what I've done here. I have gone up in 200,000s, as you can see, hitting the 200,000 euro, which is the revenue from break-even units, all the way up to the 1,800,000 euro, which is revenue at forecasted output. And I just continued my graph on an extra 200,000 euro. In terms of the units, in the question, just bring that up once again, we can see that the forecasted output in units is 60,000 units. So we know we have to go up as far as 60,000 units in a horizontal axis. And we can see our break-even units is 40,000 units. So 40,000 units for break-even units and 60,000 units for a forecasted output. So that's why I decided to go up in 20,000 units. So 20, 40 and 60. Okay, so we've all the preparation done. So the first line you're going to have to put in is the fixed cost line. And in this question, fixed costs for the company were 400,000 euro, as you can see there. So that was the first line I put in, 400,000 euro, straight line, and I've labelled it fixed costs. So that'll be the very, very first line you're going to put in your break-even chart. Okay, so the next thing you're going to put in is your break-even point. So your BEP, your break-even point. So we've done calculations to work out where our break-even point is going to be. So our break-even point in units is 40,000. And our revenue from break-even points is 1,200,000 euros. So those two figures are very important. So the 40,000 units and a 1,200,000 units. So what I did was I started off my 40,000 units. I drew a dotted line up till it met the 1,200,000 euro line. So 1,200,000 euro and the 40,000 units. So where those two lines meet is your break-even point. So you just put a little point in there. Okay, so the next line we're going to put in is the total revenue line. As you can see here, TR, total revenue, or third line, total revenue. So if you think about it logically, for any company, revenue always starts off at 0. So revenue always starts off at 0. So we bring our total revenue line from 0 right through the break-even point to the edge of your chart. So that's total revenue, always starts from 0. Our next line we're going to put in is total costs, TC, total costs. And if you think about it logically, for this company, they have fixed costs of 400,000 euro. So your total cost line is logically going to start at 400,000 euro. So from the 400,000 euro, straight through your break-even point to the edge of your chart. So remember, that's total cost, and it always starts off from the fixed cost line. So our fifth entry on the chart is going to be our profit at the forecasted output. Okay, so how do we get that? Well, first of all, we go back to our question and we look at the forecasted output. Forecasted output is 60,000 units. So 60,000 units. And the revenue from that forecasted output is 1,800,000 euro. So we have 60,000 units and 1,800,000 euro. So I drew my dotted line from 60,000 units right up till it hit the 1,800,000 euro line. So 1,800,000 euro, the 60,000 unit line just met there. Okay, so you will have noticed that 60,000 units line crossed the total cost line and the total revenue line as well. So the minute it hit the total cost line, I brought it across, and the same when it hit the total revenue line, I brought it across. So for this company, the total cost of making those 60,000 units is 1,600,000 euro, and the revenue from that is 1,800,000 euro. So the profit at the forecasted output is going to be that 200,000 euro, the difference between the two figures. Okay, so the very last entry on our break-even chart is our margin of safety. So we know from the question that the break-even point units are 40,000. So break-even point units being 40,000. Again, we know from the question that the forecasted output is 60,000 units. So 40,000 units and 60,000 units. So the break-even point in units and the forecasted output in units. So anywhere in between those two is the margin of safety. Okay, so that's your break-even chart.